Well, hello, I'm Doug Apple, back with another special interview for you today. And you probably have heard that this year we are celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, which we kicked off with the Declaration of Independence. And on the 4th of July, that'll especially be the 250th birthday of the United States of America. So we're going to be talking about that with Mike Sharman of Share HealthCare. And Mike, there are a lot of things happening in the country. And, you know, in some circles, it's very hip to not be patriotic or to not even have fond thoughts at all in your brain of the United States of America. But I know you and I know me, we are people that love the United States of America, love what God has done through things like the Declaration of Independence. And you being an attorney, you come at it from with your own perspective also, and you live near Washington, D.C. in Virginia. So, Mike, talk to us just a little bit about this 250th anniversary celebration, which is really going on all year.
Well, thank you, Doug. Now, think of it like a big family and the extended members of the family all getting together for a reunion or a holiday. You're going to have lots of different opinions going on. You might have a couple long, simmering arguments burst out every now and then. You might have some great hugs and kisses. It's going to be one great, big, loving mess. And that's what America has always been. I mean, anybody who's studied the history of our Declaration of Independence, of the creation of it, anybody who's studied the history of our Constitution, anybody studied any of our, great epochal parts of our history will know they all were steeped in controversy. They all had a bunch of arguments. But like the folks that did the Declaration of Independence, after they'd had their period of debate and arguments and vigorous differences of opinion, they were immensely proud of what they had created. And that's what the America 250 anniversary is about. We can have our differences. We can celebrate our cultural differences, our ethnic differences, our political differences. We can celebrate those because that's what America is about. Being able to come together as people who have individual freedom that we are collectively protecting. Now think about that. Our individual freedoms. That's why people came here. They wanted to be able to have an individual freedom, not have a king, not have a warlord, not have a dynastic leader telling them what they had to do, be stuck in a caste system that they can't break out of. They wanted to have their individual freedom, but so did all the other individuals. So collectively, we came together with our checks and balances, knowing that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We came together to collectively protect our individual freedoms. That's what America's about, and that's what makes this celebration that we've survived for 250 years. We are the world's oldest government. We're the world's oldest constitution. On the White House site, if somebody was going to just type in White House 250, it's going to come up whitehouse.gov, Freedom 250 of the celebration. And there's a big quote there from President Trump. The story of America makes everyone free. Everyone, whatever color, whatever political stripe, you come to America, you're going to have freedom. Even the jihadists who come here in order to try to create terror, if they're caught in their crimes, they're going to have individual freedom. They're going to have due process in how they are prosecuted. I mean, that's how ridiculous we are with wanting to have freedom, is we treat everyone. And oh, by the way, the Declaration of Independence that's 250 years old, it just happened to say that it was God, our creator. Mm-hmm. That every person is created equal by God, by our creator, with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's everybody. And that's what made it so miraculous that our founders chose to do that and chose to give that benediction, let's say, to everyone under their authority. Well, what about the slaves? What about the Indians? Well, they knew at the time they were flawed. And they knew at the time that they had things they had to get over. And that was one of the big arguments about it. How do we do that? And the Declaration of Independence had prepared for it. In fact, one of Jefferson's drafts had specifically lambasted King George for foisting slavery upon them and perpetuating the slave trade. But that got excised out in those debates and arguments. But as we progressed, we went through it. And because that was such a cathartic thing we had to deal with, our nation's worst war in terms of casualties and deaths was our war for the freedom of slaves. I mean, people might argue that it was economic, it was North versus South, but it would not have happened if the issue of slavery hadn't been there. But as you're looking at the White House's site, you'll see that it has the Story of America, and it has a video series that each of them are about 10 minutes, and there's maybe 10, 15 of them, and they're just wonderful video series about our beginnings. And then if you want to get into more of it, they have the Founders Museum within the site, on the White House site, Ladies of the Revolution, major events, the signers. And now, amazingly, too, it has prayer that you can have go to the site and it'll have Pray for America. And it has a whole process on America Prays, United America in Prayer. And it has a 26-minute message about numbers, about on Moses falling on his face before God, has the timeline of the our godly basis in America. Now, that's linking off of the White House site. And if people want to follow along with it and have prompts, you can sign up to be part of that and get little things from it. But Hillsdale College has Freedom 250, which is a pretty big movement. And on that, they have, they list out the American story because they were the ones who had done that, those videos.
So you're talking about a separate website from the White House website.
Correct. Yeah, it's Freedom 250, and you just, again, Google in Freedom 250, and thanks for helping with the connective tissue and what I'm talking. I'm jumping around here. So on the Freedom 250 site, just freedom250.org, it has a number of things. It has America's story, and then it has the events calendar of what's coming up. And one of the things that's coming up is that President Trump had proclaimed a National Jubilee Day of Prayer and rededication of our nation for May 17th. And that's going to be on the National Mall. And of course, everybody's, invited to attend. But, having a day of prayer dedicated, the day of prayer itself is dedicated to rededicating our nation to God and thanking him for bringing us along these 250 years. And then it mentions that there's going to be this big fun thing of later, starting June 25th through July 10th, there's the Great American State Fair on the National Mall. And that's going to have all the 50 states and our territories are all going to have booths and be like it's a state fair. They're going to have all their special foods and what makes their nation great. Alaska is going to have ice carvings. Texas is going to have steaks. Hawaii is going to have hula dancing. And they're just, Miami lobster rolls. Just one great big fun time for our American family. There's the Freedom Truck going around, and there's 6 mobile museums, which are the Freedom Trucks, and they're like a museum in the back of a truck, very big semi-truck. And it's going all over the nation. Those 6 of them are going all around the nation, so the people can walk in and immerse themselves in this. And that will, on this site, you can click on it, put your zip code and your location in, and it'll tell you when it's going to be nearest to you. Or if it's happening during your vacation, you can see is that happening near me while we're on vacation somewhere? Then there's the toolkits that Freedom 250 has, because it's time to really start ramping up for your communities, your area's celebration of 250. And it's surprising to us how lethargic some of the areas have been on celebrating this incredibly momentous occasion. But just because maybe your town or city or county is not really doing much beyond the standard, 4th of July fireworks, doesn't mean that you can't. They have a Freedom 250 teacher toolkit that you can, if you're in a public or private school, you can give it to the principal or superintendent or your child's classroom teacher to just say, hey, how about doing some of these or all of these ideas? Then there's the Great American Fair toolkit for you at your state fair or county fair of what you can do to help celebrate. There's the Freedom 250 City and State Toolkit to help your city or state do this remembrance all the way through and help engrave it into your city and county and state emotional mentality even more, and maybe has some permanent landmarks that you're putting down. And then one of my favorites is the Great American Rodeo Toolkit about what your rodeo can do. And if you don't have a rodeo near you, start one up. Yep. Rodeo riders and event participants are always looking for new rodeos to be involved in. So there's just so much to be doing and so much to love about this. So we want to be embracing freedom every way we can, recognizing that we are a nation that has freedom because we recognize we are a nation obeying the rule of law under God. Mm-hmm. And that's what distinguishes us from the dictatorial nations that will love to have the rule of law, but not under God or the Bible.
Yeah, I've never really quite understood people who weren't patriotic. I guess I understand it a little. First of all, if you're very political, but you're old enough, Mike, and I'm old enough, we remember the bicentennial.
Oh, yes.
And you can have fond memories of that, but it's not like everything was going perfectly in America in 1976.
No, and the bicentennial was a good resetting point because we'd come out of the 60s and the early 70s. There was just all sorts of miserable things going on from that, let's call it a hangover from those periods. And the malaise that we were having as a nation, we were hanging our heads in shame over all sorts of different things. And the 1976 bicentennial was a reset that got us to pick our heads up off our chest, our chins up off our chest, and remember, we are a great nation. We do have a great history. Now, let's just step into it. Shrug off these old dirty clothes of shame and start putting on the pride that we have in the nation, the appropriate patriotic pride, mm-hmm. recognizing again that we are one nation under God, and it is in God we trust. If anybody doesn't believe that, then give me all the money in your pocket, because every single one of those pieces of money, whether it's the defunct pennies that are still going around or a $100 bill, every one of them says, in God we trust. When we do that, we're blessed. So we had that reset in 1976. Check our economy from then to now, and we are vastly better off. Mm-hmm. Look at the what a standard car had on it versus what a standard car has on it now. Look at what a standard house had in it versus what a standard house is in now. Look at how many changes of clothes a person had then versus now. I mean, by whatever measure you want to do, with exception one that I'll chat about in just a moment, we are vastly better off. Now, the exception is we're having less babies. We're just having less babies. Mm-hmm. And so what did God said was a real blessing. Blessed is the man who has a quiver of them. Quiver of what? Children. Mm-hmm. Why did God create marriage? So that there would be godly children. So maybe one way that people want to be celebrating is have a lot of kids and name them after these patriotic heroes. We have a friend of ours who has done just that. Each one of his children have a patriot's name, whether it's Patrick Henry or Abigail or George Washington, and then the family's last name. But anyway, however we can, let's celebrate 250.
Yeah, I'm all for it. And again, what were those websites where people can find that information?
Well, Freedom 250, just remember that phrase, Freedom 250. and then White House 250. And just remembering those phrases, White House 250 and Freedom 250, it'll get you right there.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about, gee, what is the whole website link thing? Just Freedom 250 or White House 250.
Which one was it that had the toolkit for teachers so that they could help talk about it in their classrooms?
Right, Freedom 250.
Okay, so
and then across the top of it, it has it's different tabs, and one of the tabs is toolkits.
Toolkits. Okay. So freedom250.org if you go there. So if you're a school teacher or, an administrator in a school and you want to help celebrate the America's 250th anniversary, then you can go to freedom250.org, look for toolkits. And one of the toolkits is for teachers to very inexpensive ways to do things in the classroom to help celebrate. And of course, then you can always have your own rodeo.
That's right. Or both. Both.
You can have a rodeo in the class.
Yeah, nothing's more fun than watching a rodeo with the mutton busters.
Yes.
You know what the mutton busters are, Doug?
No, I don't.
Little kids riding sheep.
Oh. Where do they do that? They don't do it.
Rodeo.
I mean, at any old rodeo?
Pretty much every rodeo I've seen, because it is a crowd pleaser. The kids are all wearing their little tiny chaps, and they grab onto the deep wool of a sheep. You don't ride the sheep after it's been shorn. Mm-hmm. You ride the sheep when it still has long wool. Grab on and
hold on.
And have a blast. Yeah.
So we introduced this whole subject by introducing you as being with Share HealthCare. So where does Share HealthCare fit into this conversation?
Well, it fits in perfectly with freedom. I mean, that's what Share HealthCare is all about. We're a 501c3 medical ministry, Christian medical ministry, and our specific ministry is helping Christians share one another's medically necessary medical expenses. And we do it so that people have medical freedom. They aren't constrained by a network. When members of Share HealthCare, their network is any licensed medical professional in the world. Their doctors that they go to aren't constrained by what the insurance company or what the health exchange or Affordable Care Act, Obamacare tells them they have to do. That doctor gets to talk over with their patient, what is the appropriate thing to do. So they have medical freedom. Then financial freedom. Right now, a family of four across the United States has the average health insurance cost of $2,684, according to the main statistic folks are using. So that's $2,684 with insurance for a family of four. Share HealthCare, we're $349 a month for a family of four. So you have a huge amount of financial freedom. For a single, it's $149 per month, and for a couple, it's $249. So a person can compare that with any other insurance, any other statistic they choose to look at other than the 2684 that I mentioned, and you'll see that we're vastly more affordable, giving you financial freedom than anything. There's health exchanges and health insurance. And why is that? Because at our core, we are religious freedom. We're not trying to be insurance. We're not trying to provide, governance sustenance for everybody that's out there. We're trying to help Christians share one another's medically necessary medical expenses. We don't share in abortions. We don't share in abortifacients. We don't share in transgendering. We recognize that our body is a temple, and we're not supposed to abuse that. So any tobacco user, whether they're Christian or not, can't be a member of ours. We'll take, of course, folks that used to smoke, but we're not taking people who are just disregarding what God has given us, which is a body to protect and act as a temple, and so on and so forth. So we're $349 versus that national average of $2,684 for a family of four, $149 for a single, and there's a whole lot of singles out there that may not want to be single. They might want to be getting married and settle down, but they think, how am I going to do that when I don't even have enough money for a down payment or even a good security deposit on an apartment or a house that I would want to bring a husband or wife to? So that 149 will help them prepare for that. 249 will help a couple be able to save money and prepare for bringing all those little kids into the world and helping America be blessed in that way and progress in the right way of progressing. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to describe who and what Share HealthCare is.
All right. Well, if people want more information, what do they need to do?
Well, one more website that we can give everybody. Remember our name, Share HealthCare, and then look up sharehealthcare.com, sharehealthcare.com. Look up all the different things on it, hit all the tabs and look through those, write down your questions, and then call 1-844-SHARE-HC, 1-844-SHARE-HC.
All right. Thank you very much. That's Mike Sharman with Share HealthCare. And we've been talking about celebrating freedom, especially with the United States celebrating 250 years of freedom coming up on July 4th, but celebrating all year long. And those websites were, well, if you look up White House 250 or Freedom 250, then that'll get you there. Right, Mike?
That's right. I'll get there, and you'll if you have a good Saturday where it's rainy and you don't have anything else to do, you can sit there all day and enjoy it, or just glance at it just a few minutes each day. Either way.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And for Wave 94, I'm Doug Apple.